In this episode of Project Carhaven, I sacrifice a Subaru panel to patch an old Celica, use body filler to patch an old Celica, strip the car down in preparation for masking and paint, and actually get some primer put on. Hello. Today, moving on with my favourite thing, bodywork. I'm going to try and weld up some holes, apply some filler, get the body level, lots of sanding and filthy mess. Well, today could be a gigantic fail, but I'm going to try and weld the patch in up here and various other ones around the car. I really hope it goes well. Fingers crossed. First step is I've got to get that Subaru bonnet cut up into pieces so I can use those pieces to then weld in. Just going to start with a vernier caliper to measure the size of the hole so I know the size of the piece I need to cut out to then trim to fit and then weld in. 42-ish, 38. All right. Just going to roughly cut out a shape with the angle grinder and then change this to a flap disc to then shape it to fit the hole on the car. Now I'm just going to take the piece that I cut out, hole it up from the inside, spray some paint on there, and that will give me the outline of where I'm aiming to trim that to. Okay, so it's shaped and ground down. Look, it's not perfect, but hopefully it's close enough that I can make a weld happen around that. I mean, I've got plenty more material to have another go if that doesn't work, but I'll throw on the welding helmet and see what happens.
2 hours later.
So jumping forward, I've done all the welding. I've had to strip off all the primer because the body filler only likes going onto bare metal. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to mix up some filler. Hopefully it doesn't set too fast. Quickly apply it on all these spots, getting ready to level everything out, getting another step closer to applying some primer and paint. I've been sanding. I didn't bother recording it because it's sanding, but obviously I've been busy with it and there's a long way to go. And that's just to knock it down, get it close, because I still need to like hand sand it to get it level. Probably put more filler in low spots and do this again. Have I mentioned that I don't like doing bodywork and paint? I feel like I need to say it again. I don't like this.
Three weeks later.
Well, it's much later. I've done a lot of sanding in prep for putting some primer on here. I still have low spots to refill. It's super hot here at the moment, so it's hard to sand without sweating on everything, which means I've got to stop and start, wait for stuff to dry. It's a really long, painful process, but you know, I'm getting through it slowly, but I'm not going to bore you with that. Just doing some sanding on the front guards. I've done a fair amount of that. This one here, example, old paint sort of cracked and old. Rather than filling that, I am sanding it back to try and make a smooth finish. Hopefully it turns out okay. I don't want to have to add more filler than is needed, so doing what I can by knocking it down with some 80 grit. some of the places with tight curves, like the lip on this boot here, will need to be hand sanded, but I'm trying to knock everything flat with the hand sander. I will block sand it by hand before applying some primer. I still need to remove the rear bumper and tail lights, but we're getting close to actually getting some paint on this thing. So actually jumping forward, I've block sanded about 98% of the car. Now I just need to get off the last remaining pieces and then probably remove the boot lid and bonnet to get ready to paint some pieces separately. And if that works out well, I'll mask up the body and then get primer on that as well. Alright, so up here's bolts on from the back side. We'll take them out. As we get the dummy fuel filler neck out of the way too. Let's get the screws back in here so they don't go missing. Same thing for the cap. Get that out of the way. Next, the tail lights out. Just leave these in the car like that. Turns out it's going to be easier to get the bumper off first. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, now with the bumper out of the way, we might actually get somewhere. Okay, so this needs some cleaning up and need to organise probably some new studs. Some of those came out, one was missing. Get that all refurbed, clean them up after body work. Now, was this going to play nice? Please don't break. Very gently. I do not want to break these lenses because finding replacements near on impossible. Gently, gently. Oh. Oh. Okay, it's one down. Same for the other side. Alright, I've got to get a couple of bits of trim off, take the door seals off because they're totally destroyed anyway, and get the glass out, and then get ready for a bit more sanding and then paint. Oh, very crunchy. Some of the seal pins are still stuck, so I've got to manually remove them. So yeah, these door seals definitely have seen better days. Good thing I got new ones. Now it's a matter of moving the window into a position where I can access the nuts that secure the glass to the frame. Get those off and get the glass out. There we go. Alright, so I took the front windows out because, you know, that knocking noise, there's some destroyed bushes that are totally absent. I've checked all the rollers for the armature are fine. Everything for the rear windows is good, so I'm going to leave them in place because it's very complicated to get them out. I don't want to mess that up. So tuck these away, get them hidden by masking so they don't get paint on them. Fix the brackets with some bushes, put some new gaskets on the glass as well because that's all old and destroyed. And so these are the gaskets that come off of the windows. One set was okay, the other set just completely crumbled. I don't believe I can find replacements for those, so bought myself a sheet of neoprene. I'm just going to trace out what I need, cut them out, make gaskets myself. Also, the glass needs cleaning up. There's all dirt below the belt line, remnants of destroyed rubber, gasket stuff that all needs to be scraped off. Clean the glass up, apply the new gaskets, and then the windows will be right to go back into the car. I know I'm distracting myself again, but just using some glass polish to try and bring some life back to this 53-year-old glass. Now, I've traced out a set of the original gaskets onto the neoprene. I've got to make 2 sets of those, so there'll be all brand new gaskets in the windows, and the original set I'm going to pack up to stick into the shed as spares. So I'm all suited up in a giant condom. I have a mask, which isn't probably going to work because I have a beard, but I'm not shaving it off. I've mixed up my paint. It's 2-pack paint. Load the gun and get spraying. I still need to set up the pattern. I haven't set any of the pressures yet, so I've got to do some testing first. Well, as they say, here goes nothing. And just like that, through the magic of YouTube, it's all finished. It's all actually one complete colour over the whole car for the first time since I've had it. Now I've just got to wait for it to cure completely before I block sand it, which is a sanding technique to try and get it level so the base coat doesn't look all wavy. Something I did learn is that Tyvek suit, the spray suit, I'm not going to use that. It's basically a sweatsuit. I got in trouble a couple of times where I nearly had sweat pour all over the panels while they were still wet. I can't really afford for that to happen, so that idea goes in the bin. I'll just wear some long sleeve clothes to hopefully soak it up, or wait for some cooler weather. All of the hanging panels are just sitting in place at the front. I haven't put the boot lid back on just because I need to take those away and try and put base coat on them separately anyway. Still a long way to go, but it is progress. Well, paint-wise, this has turned out pretty well, in my opinion. It has highlighted a couple of areas that need a bit more attention to get them level so they don't stand out once the base coat's applied. While I'm waiting for this to cure, I think I need to sort of refresh and tidy up the trim pieces like the sail panels here and the rear garnish. So I guess from this point, I'll call this episode done, and I'll get prepped to start doing the other things, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.